Hello friends, this is to be the last in my little series of chats about the signals that musicians give to each other when they're playing traditional jazz tunes, and with particular reference of course to our favourite band Tuba Skinny. Now in the previous videos I covered such matters as bars and their importance and the fact that they come in multiples of four. I also dealt with the famous hand on the head signal, going back to the beginning or to a previous theme. And then in the second video, I dealt with bridges, where fingers are turned into bridge shapes in order to indicate we go back to the bridge in the tune. If you don't know what that is, well, go back to that video and have a look. And then I also dealt with the way that bands who perhaps have never played together before can communicate, and sometimes do so rather badly with lots of noisy discussion, when it would be far better to use subtle and discreet signals. And in my third video I dealt with fours, where band members play 4 bars each in turn, and I also dealt with the subject of offbeats, playing the second and fourth beat, and also the use of threes as a rhythmic backing. And I even dealt with the little curious signal of the mouth, indicating that the vocal is coming up. And I spoke about how very often tunes come in 2 parts, and again the hand on the head is used to take us back to the previous part after having played the second. So I still have quite a lot more signals to get through, and I'm going to do my best now. The first one is indicating which key a tune is in. Now this is very, very rarely used by Tuba Skinny, because generally speaking they all know the key and they don't have to discuss it. But with some bands, a signal that can be used is using the fingers. Now a downward finger means that that is a flat note. Therefore, a key with 1 flat in it, which is in fact the key of F, you indicate by 1 finger down. A key with 2 flats, you'd indicate with 2 fingers down. That would be B flat, and so on. And of course, fingers up indicate sharps. So you can indicate a key just by using your fingers and showing the band. Of course, it's very valuable if suddenly the band leader decides to change the key in the middle of a tune and perhaps have fun switching to a different one. And that's the way you could signal it. It's not used much by Tuba Skinny, but there was one famous video when Ewan Bleach was guesting with them, and Shay started a tune. And Ewan didn't know it, I think, or hadn't played it with them before, and he wasn't absolutely certain which key it was in. So he made a signal, is it in E flat, looking across at Barnabas, and Barnabas nodded yes. So immediately Ewan knew what the key was in. So even in Tuba Skinny, I have spotted this signal once or twice. Another important signal is when we're coming to a break. Now, what I mean by a break is that the tune is going merrily along, dom da dom 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 da dom, and then suddenly, bump, it stops. And one player, of course, has usually a couple of bars to put in a little twiddly bit. Now, it can be done by the way Shay has been doing it quite a lot recently, is by sticking her leg out. Like, I don't know if you can see my leg, but stick it out like that, and that indicates at that moment you've got to stop. So I happen to have a picture of Shay doing that in the early days, when she was using the leg signal to indicate the end of a piece of music coming up, so the band all knew they had to stop. And when Marla of the Shotgun Jazz Band wants to indicate a break, she doesn't do it in the same way as Shay. She puts her hand up above her head and pulls it down sharply like that. So the tune is going dom dom da dom 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 da dom dom bump. And you see Marla do that, and the band plays a few twiddly notes and so on, or rather the person playing the break does. And that's how she does it with the Shotgun Jazz Band. And I have a picture of Marla doing just that as well. Another signal that I don't remember seeing Shay use, but many band leaders do, is the cut, where you do that in front of some musicians, usually the banjo, guitar, the rhythm section, and it means that the front line only, usually it's the front line anyway, are going to play half a chorus or a chorus alone, and you get this wonderful bubbly conversation between cornet, trombone, clarinet, just for perhaps 16 bars or maybe the full 32. That's a very effective thing for bands to do. And another one that I haven't seen Shay use, but I've seen Marla use it, is this signal. What it means, of course, is I want you to start playing the next chorus very, very quietly. And this can be very effective if you play a quiet chorus and then you build up afterwards, of course, to a louder one to recreate the excitement as you come in towards the finish of the tune. I've got a picture of Marla, in fact, doing the whisper signal. Another signal often used in jazz bands, but I don't think I've noticed it being used by Tuba Skinny, is the half and half, where one player looks at another one and says half and half, and then perhaps you, me. What he means is in the next chorus, we'll play half the chorus each. You do the first half, I will do the second half. So half and half, you, me. Very, very commonly used. I know in British jazz bands, I've seen it. And a very simple little subtle, rather than having to chat about what they're going to do. Now, let's talk about bringing the tune to an end. When we are bringing the tune to an end, the whole band needs to know that this is the final chorus. Normally that is very easy to convey because the trumpet player will swing the trumpet high and the noise gets a bit louder and so on, the excitement increases. Everybody knows we're coming to the end. But an alternative way, of course, of marking the end of the tune is, again, in the case of Shay, sticking out a leg a few notes before the finish. Everybody knows this is the last time round. I suppose it is more important to use that if in fact it's a fairly quiet or slow ending to a tune. She wants to make clear that they are not going into another chorus, so out goes the leg. Sometimes when a band reaches the end of a tune, sometimes they just stop or they slow down on the last note of perhaps the 32 bars, but very often the band leader decides to end it with a little bit of elaboration, decoration. They will add what is called a coda or a tag. This can be 2 bars or 4 bars. So a tune is coming to an end and the band leader will hold up 4 fingers up like that, just as they're playing the final notes of the tune. And that means I want you to continue playing and add a tag onto the end of the tune. Now I can best demonstrate how this works with the keyboard. So here's showing you a tag. Right, now let us assume that a tune ends something like this, as many of them do. Now if we wanted to add a 4-bar tag or a 4-bar coda, we could play that and then add in the way I'm just going to show you. So something like this. There we are. Well, there we are. I hope I've gone through a sufficiently wide range of signals. There may be a few more, especially if there are some that are peculiar to certain bands and certain band leaders. Maybe you'd like to tell me about them in the comments. But I think that range covers all the basic signals that are needed. And as I hope I've implied all through this, I think it is so much better when a band uses these discrete, subtle signals, particularly things like eye contact. That is all that is needed in a really good band, and it's so much better than musicians strolling around the stage while the tune is being played, talking to each other and discussing what they're going to do next, and in loud voices disturbing the player who's doing a solo, and also leaving the audience feeling a little bit annoyed, certainly in my case. So there we are then. That's the end of my little series of videos on signals. If you have any other topics you'd like me to talk about, please write them in the comments down below and I'll do my best to make a video about them at some stage in the future. For now though, it's goodbye from me.